I want to introduce our keynote speaker, Mark S. King. He is a phenomenal person. He actually saw himself, envisioned himself here, and anybody with that vision needs to be in this room. Please come up and join us.
Good morning, Chicago. You know, she says, I envision myself here. Well, who doesn't envision themselves in Chicago, you know, having a wonderful trip and being so welcomed warmly? I want to say a few things. First of all, my name is Mark S. King. I'm a long-term survivor. I'm a writer. I like to say I'm a guy with HIV and a keyboard and an opinion. My pronouns are he, his, him. I want to, first of all, thank AIDS Foundation Chicago. Y'all are killing it. You are such sweet people. I don't, you know, the sense of joy that I've received since being here and working with you. Melanie, Iana, who looks as if she is prepared for a very editorial photo shoot for, you know, Vogue magazine, and I'm obsessed. As well as Kim and your fearless leader, John, thank you all so much. I feel really privileged to be here. I have been living with HIV. It's coming up on 40 years. It'll be 40 years this spring, the Ides of March. And so I bring a lot of historical memory to all of that, and this is what I want to do. This summit is about these silos. I love the language, it's very 2024. So there's these silos. There is the HIV silo, there is the aging silo, and there's the LGBTQ silo. And I check all the boxes. So I am going to talk to you about each one of those silos as it relates to my life, what has happened to me. I'm really a storyteller. I just want to kind of tell you the stories and give you a sense of what happened to us as long-term survivors, of being queer, of HIV, and then some takeaways in the here and now that I hope will help you as you do the work in the next couple of days with your summit. My thing keeps closing. Here's the queer part. I'm 63 years old. I don't see a lot of shock on your faces when I say that, which is more and more disconcerting as the years go by. And I am the youngest of 6 kids. My parents had 6 kids, 2 of each, as we like to say. 2 boys, 2 girls, 2 gays. And I'm the youngest, which explains so much. I was raised in the South. I still live there. I live in Atlanta. I went to my very first gay pride in 1977 in the French Quarter of New Orleans. And, oh my goodness. I was 17 years old. I just graduated high school and moved to New Orleans at 17 on the loose in the French Quarter. And having a great time. And I had a boyfriend, Charlie, and he was from Houston, and he was a Texan, and he was big and strapping and had a big mustache. It was 1977, and looked great. I'm just saying that as a young little adorable a strawberry blonde twink, I thought I had it going on. I thought everything I had in front of me was ready to go for life. I remember Charlie and I. We were living in New Orleans. We drove to Los Angeles for vacation. I was 19 by then, I guess. Hey, Isaac, come here. This is Isaac, our tech person, working very hard. Isaac, I went to Los Angeles when I was like 19 years old, and we took a tour of CBS Studios, which was really great. And we stood in line to be on a game show. Could you show them what happened?
The fabulous 60-minute drop is right. Mark King, come on down. You are the first 4 contestants on The Prize is Right. Now, Mark, You are a fine-looking young feller. What do you do?
I'm a student at the University of New Orleans.
Oh, you are?
Yes, sir.
Any student would love the prize that's coming out here for you to look at right now. This is a pretty spiffy looking. Look at those wire wheels.
Really impressed my friends.
Yeah, whipping around New Orleans and that. Do you have a girlfriend back there at the University of New Orleans?
Several.
Do you? Yeah. You'd have several more if you get hold of this. Now, here are seven $1 bills. We're going to play Lucky 6. We're going to play Lucky 7 over here. Are you counting them, Mark? Don't you trust me? There are 7 there.
I've won $7.
Have it now. You're going to tell me each number in this card. You have the 6. All right, now, you keep me and tell me the number and the price of the car. 5. Number 5. Open the door.
Oh, please, applaud. How will he do? How will he do? What will happen
I'm not
next?
sure that I have ever had a contestant in any better shape than you are right now. I don't know how much you know about this game, but trust me, things are going very well for you at this point. You won that car. You have won that car. Thank you, yeah. Congratulations. Now, I have to have $1.
Here's the deal. I was young once. All of us long-term survivors were young once. We had lives ahead of us. We had dreams. We had aspirations. Something derailed it, but we had them. And when you look at us today, as we are now, you know, as the old Bette Midler song says, hello in there, look inside. That kid is right here. That kid is right here. And when I see the face, the look on his face at the end of it, his face, I think that's the face of a young man just before it happened. So Charlie and I moved to West Hollywood, California. Sorry, I'm losing my voice a little bit, but it's not going to keep me down. We moved to West Hollywood in 1981, and my dance card was filled. We had an open relationship. I was having a great time. I was by then 19, I guess. It was right after this happened, 20 years old. It was a time of being cruisy, and I mean analog cruisy, like on the street. Hi, who are you? Speaking to people, can you imagine, in person? And having to figure out things without seeing a list of their preferences. And I was young, I was frivolous, I was horny, I was excited, I was having a great time. I was spending time in the gay clinic on San Vicente Boulevard, maybe once every month or two, sitting in the clinic waiting to get my shot. I used to say I got the clap so many times I called it the applause. But there was no AIDS. There was no fear. I see y'all. I see you smiling. You know what I'm talking about. Was I promiscuous? Hell yes, I was. Is that a stereotype that we don't like? Maybe. But for me, and this, I'm only speaking for myself today, it was my only vocabulary. I didn't know how to communicate with these people I wanted so desperately to find acceptance and self-love from. That was it. Tab A, slot B. That's the only vocabulary I knew, you know? And we were desperately looking at a time, 1977, 1980, 1981, in which maybe we were starting to build political power, maybe a sense of community because of these gay prides that happened. And there was a sense of potential, of possibility, of maybe we shouldn't hate ourselves so much. Maybe we're not hate worthy. Maybe we could go to a church that accepts it. I mean, all of these things were happening that made us feel as if we were turning this corner. There was a gay couple on the cover of Time magazine. And a great debate and an interesting conversation can be had about whether or not what happened next helped us, oh, those poor people, or hurt us, oh, those goddamn people. Which was it? Was it a bit of both? All I know is that we were so close, and we were expanding that vocabulary until what happened happened. Now, you know, I'm not going to try in a couple of minutes to describe and paint you a picture of that. I can only tell you that within a couple of years, and I'm living in West Hollywood, one of the epicenters of the epidemic, it felt like the world was coming to an end. My favorite bartender at the Motherlode, he was there on Friday. He was there on Friday. The teller at my bank at Unity Savings and Loan at the corner of San Vicente and Santa Monica cashed my check on Monday and was gone by Friday. And at first, let me tell you, I'll tell you the truth. At first, when this started happening, I separated out. It was a defense mechanism. This must happen to really sleazy people. Oh, not to me, who's going to the clinic every month. No, this must happen to people who are into weird things. This must happen to other people. It can't be, no. Yeah. And I say that because it's worth remembering here, now, when we see fear from people and wonder how in the world they could, how dare they? You couldn't get a manicure in West Hollywood in 1986 if they knew you were positive. Those gay guys getting kicked out of their apartments were getting kicked out by their gay roommate. Happened all the time. We were scared shitless. We didn't know. And so fear is a powerful thing. Ignorance is valid. Willful ignorance is not. But ignorance is valid. And I understand fear. So in the here and now, when I, come across people and I realize, oh, they're afraid. I understand. I understand fear and what it can do to us. In 1985, on March 15th, I wasn't supposed to get an HIV test. You weren't supposed to get one. Did you know that? Politically incorrect. Do not get one. All the activists said so. Don't get tested. Why? There were no medications. There was no research. There was nothing going on about it. But this is what could happen. You could get fired from your job, kicked out by your roommate, disowned by your family. Nothing good. And so the message was, don't get a test. What possible good could come of that? And the test came out the beginning of March of 1985. I went to a friend who was a nurse in a doctor's office after hours. Don't get it on your insurance. Don't let anybody know. And he took a blood test afterwards. Took about 2 weeks. He called me up a couple weeks later. I remember standing in my kitchen, phone on the wall. Mark, the test is positive. I am so sorry. Good luck. And I would like to say I was some sort of hero and I jumped to the fray and started doing all. No, I did more coke. That's what I did. I medicated myself. And then I entered a period in which suddenly it was upon me. Suddenly it wasn't the friend of the friend of the friend of the bartender. No. It was my best friend. It was my closest friends. It was the roommate of the so-and-so. It just went whoosh, close up. What was that time like? I saw the most gorgeous examples of humanity that I will ever see in my entire life. I saw us build things. I saw people going, oh my God, so-and-so, he doesn't have any food. Let's load up the car with groceries and get it going. And pretty soon that became a food delivery system. And who are we going to talk to about this? Okay, let's start meeting in the living room. And that became support groups. And what about research? Oh my God, let's march on the streets. What the hell is wrong with the NIH? We built in the face of such apathy, in the face of such contempt and hostility. We built, we ministered in the true sense of the word. We had intelligent-seeming people on the floor of the United States Congress debating whether or not we should all be sent off to an island somewhere. I said, if they give us Maui, we'll go. I remember early on when they were still starting to, get the drugs or figure out the drugs, I believe it was AZT, which was the first FDA-approved drug, but it had not yet been approved in the United States, but they had it in Tijuana. So me and my three friends, Leslie, Ron, and Marcos, okay. Leslie was my all-time best friend. He loved Barbra Streisand. I mean, like, you have no idea. And so that was Leslie. Ron was obsessed with Jane Fonda workout videos, and he always thought he could lose the final 10 pounds that he could never seem to lose. But he was sweating to the oldies, to Jane Fonda, in the living room every single day. My roommate. And then Marcos. And Marcos was Latino, and he spoke Spanish, which was very exotic to me at the time as a young kid, and was into leather, and so he was dangerous. And I loved these guys, and the four of us would take my Chevy Impala, because by the way, I gave away the car. I gave it to my sister. Oh, now you know, yes. Everybody's like, well, where's the car? Where's the car? It's been 50 years, girl. It's gone, it's gone. Okay, but okay. The four of us get in my Chevy Impala and we drive to Tijuana, and we have prescriptions from, friendly docs for this drug. And we spread out and we go to all the pharmacies in Tijuana, taking all these, I want to say it's ACT, I can't be sure, taking it all and putting it into the trunk of our car like we're drug smugglers. We were drug smugglers. And hiding it in the car and then renting a place, on the beach that night and getting stoned and having a fire on the beach and drinking beers and trying to live despite. And I remember on Sunday, we would drive back to Los Angeles, but we would stop at the West Coast Production Company in San Diego because they had a tea dance, gay bar. They had a tea dance. And the four of us would lock up the car with all of our drugs in it, and we would go onto the dance floor. And this song was playing. This is the dance break for a portion of the presentation.
Gloria, you're always on the run now, running after somebody. You gotta get him somehow. I think you got to slow down.
I can't believe I jumped off that stage. Did you see that? Did you see that? And we're dancing. And remember when you were on the dance floor and you would be with your friends and you would all have your arms around each other dancing like this? Remember? And the four of us would do that. And we didn't care about AIDS. We didn't care about what was happening outside that bar. It was willful joy. Willful joy. Leslie was the first to die. He died in my guest room. I gave him the phone so he could talk to his mom and dad back home. I want to hear. Marcos woke up blind because he got CMV retinitis overnight. And he couldn't take it. So he put a bag over his head. Ron, who loved Jane Fonda workout tapes, I tried to take care of him, but he had dementia, and it was really hard, and I couldn't do it. So his mother took him back to Connecticut, and she tried to care for him, and she couldn't. So she put him in a nursing home, and she had to go there every day to take the tray from outside the door into his room so he could eat. He was there for 6 months before he died. He was 26 years old. That's what happened to us. And this is okay. I still do this. And I think it's okay because I'm glad that I do it. I'm glad that I can still feel those things. Because for so long I didn't. There was too many. There were too many funerals. It was from one funeral to the emergency room to the doctor's office to the memorial service, and it was too much. There were so many coming back fast and furious that you didn't have time to properly grieve for any one person. And so now maybe a few years later, I can tell you about Jane Fonda workout tapes, and I can tell you about, and I get to grieve a little. So thank you for indulging me. So years go by. And I stopped doing what I'm doing, and I go to work for Shanti, the first organization founded in Los Angeles. And we helped people die with dignity. That's what we did. That was our mission, helping people die. Because they needed somebody just to be with them and be a compassionate presence for them. You know, and not judge them and not say everything's going to be okay, just be with them. And that's what we did, and those were the times we were living in. And years go, and the medicines happen, and one thing happened into another, and I moved to Atlanta to be director of an AIDS agency, even though I figured I'll be dead anyway, but why not? And away we go. And then medications happen in 1996, and we're all going to live. Or at least a lot of us. And it was like emotional whiplash. You're going to live, you're going to die, you're going to live, you're going to die. It's like, wait a second. I have spent the last 10 years emotionally preparing to die, and now I'm going to live? Shit. You know, I mean, you telling me that I ran up the credit card, told the boss to go to hell, took the trip around the world, and now I'm going to live? I mean, it affected everything. That renewed sense of, oh my God, oh, now I'm going to live now, okay. And I felt guilty because I didn't feel grateful because it was such a mind fuck. It affected everything. I remember coming down the stairs one morning and sitting across from the breakfast table with my boyfriend at the time and saying, you know what? I am going to live a normal lifespan and not with you. It turns out the person you are ready to die with may not be the person you are ready to live with. This is all to say, this is the AIDS part, this is the HIV part, right? This is all to say, this is who's walking into your clinic. This is a piece, at least my story, and we all have pieces of it, of that person who walks into your clinic. This is some of what we saw. Yes, we are wounded. We're haunted. But we also saw something spectacular. And we're able to live, to talk about it, and feel proud of it. And yes, do we put a lot of weight into our identities as survivors? Yes. Yes. And we should. And then here's the flip side of that. Don't define me by my great tragedy. I'm so much more than that. Please don't. Please don't. I had a therapist once, not too long ago. I wanted to see him about something unrelated. And he says, drugs. Anyway, he said, oh my God, you were diagnosed when? And you could see he was like licking his lips. He was like, oh my God, this is just rich of material. This poor guy, he's been living with HIV and since the old days, I can't wait to mine this, you know? And I'm like, no, I'm good. He was so disappointed, you know. No, I'm good, I said. People living with HIV, a couple of random thoughts, were viewed with suspicion. Clearly we did something wrong. We are seen as untrustworthy somehow to have gotten ourselves into this. But God forbid you were diagnosed any time in the last 20 years. How dare you? We are seen as inherently untrustworthy, and that's why you see HIV criminalization going on. That's why you see all the sort of social stigma and the stuff on the apps and all of that. It's a daily battle that we fight. You're newly diagnosed, your dating life? Okay, good luck. I'm going to do everything I can to support you and tell you it's going to be okay. But have you had a major life event that will affect dating, for instance, as well as many other aspects of your life? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That's why we all need to be working to help that person. Okay, so that's the HIV part. That's the queer part. Here comes the aging part. I'm 63 years old. What the hell is the HIV versus the aging? How am I supposed to know? That hurt. I jumped off that stage. That hurt. I made it look great, but it hurt. I'm going to be paying for that tomorrow. Now, is that osteoporosis because of the HIV toxic medications I have been taking for 35 years? Or is that because I'm old? And which one of my doctors should address that? Speaking of doctors, okay. I've been dancing, y'all. Doctors. Okay, here's a story. I, for a few weeks, a couple years ago, for a few months this happened, on a Saturday night, always a Saturday night, I'd be watching TV with my husband and I would faint. Boom. Out. Cold. Scared the shit out of him. Called the EMTs, they'd come, and I'm probably like, oh, I'm okay. But it kept happening, and almost always on a Saturday. Until finally he said, the EMTs, you're going to the hospital. Put them in, we're going, we got to figure this out. So we go to the hospital, and guess what? Finally, this doctor says, tell me all about your medications. Oh, you're taking this over there, you're taking this over there, you're taking this over there. Guess what? Prostate medication, because I'm old, lowers your blood pressure. HIV medication includes a booster in it to boost the level of medication in your body to make it stay in your body longer and last longer. Further reduces your blood pressure. Guess what else? Taking a Viagra on a Saturday night reduces your blood pressure. It's okay. I'm not ashamed. I have sex. Okay? We are, oh, thank you. Wait till I tell my husband. Wait till I tell my husband. If only he gave me that applause. So, what happened was that on the occasional Saturday night, not every Saturday night, it really depends on if there's a new episode of the Great British Baking Show, but nevertheless, most Saturdays, and I'm telling you, I am good for a good 8 to 10 minutes. On those Saturdays, I would take my Viagra, we would have astounding sex, and then go downstairs for our ice cream, and bang, I would faint. It took an emergency room technician, bless his heart, going through all of these records from all of these different doctors to figure it out. That is the challenge that I'm sure y'all are going to figure out sometime within the next 48 hours. How do we take all of those silos and gather them together so people like Mark, his husband, doesn't freak out because he's fainting after the best 8 minutes of his life? There's something else. I'm facing mortality again, and it feels weird. A good friend of mine, Jesse, he died in Atlanta about 6 months ago. I went to his funeral. Been a long time since I've gone to one. He was elderly. He was a long-term survivor, 83 years old, lived a great life. Standing in the alcove of that church and smelling the pine-scented stuff from the pews and handing out programs and the organ moaning, it brought back some stuff. Suddenly, I was right back there. And it was a little post-traumatic something. And I had the weirdest thought. I thought to myself, I thought I escaped this. I thought I got away from this. And here it is again. And what did I learn the first time around that can help me now? Because I'm filled with questions. Oh my gosh, why are we here? What's happening? What's going on? What happens when we die? I mean, I'm all about that. And I went through all of those questions in the 80s and the early 90s, didn't get a lot of answers, had a lot of incredible experiences, and now those questions have returned. Here's what I do know. I know about medical power of attorney. I know about durable power of attorney. I know about how to make a will. I know when it's time to call hospice care. So I know a lot of the practical stuff, which is great. The emotional stuff, the spiritual stuff, I have the same questions as I always did. The question for you and for care providers and all of that is, what silo are you working in, and when do you start going like this? When do you realize that if I am a person coming into your clinic, which silo am I flagging for you? Am I presenting with an STD problem or sexual shame? Are my T cells okay? How's my prostate doing? Have you checked me for anal cancers? All of these stuff. They're not necessarily housed in the same place, and of course, that's why you're here. Where is this big silo? The one big one. Here's my big takeaways. I'm almost done. We do have a new vocabulary as queer people, a much broader vocabulary, and it includes political activism and Michelle Obama saying do something, and bowling leagues, and all sorts of things where we can relate to one another in a way that is productive, and it isn't based simply on that old vocabulary, which was just sex. That's progress. I'm so excited about it. If you are working in HIV in any aspect, you are involved in a social justice movement. Social justice. And if you don't feel that in your bones, please check yourself and think again. From the beginning of this epidemic, we have dealt with sex, sexuality, gender, autonomy, homophobia, transphobia, racism, condoms, body autonomy, religious persecution, fundamentalism, every hot button issue, social issue that you can possibly think of that needs justice is all wrapped up in this tiny little viral particle. If we ever get to zero, I know y'all are involved in that. I know Chicago is a leader in that. If we are going to get to zero, everyone involved must know it is social justice zero. It's about having success in fighting all of the inequities. If you don't address those, we're not getting to zero. We're never getting to zero. And then there's this takeaway. Life lasts a long time, and it is over in a flash. I can blink and I went in a car. I swear to God. And it's a scary ride. It can be a scary ride. Make the ride a little easier for somebody else. Please show some kindness to somebody else. Make it a little easier. You know, I now have shown you my great tragedy, of course, but it's not about that. It's about I went through that, and now I have more empathy for other people. There are people in this audience that have been through worse than me, guaranteed. Guaranteed. But what I went through helps me open up to them and maybe better understand them a little better. Tragedy is not a contest. And finally, enjoy the moments. Enjoy these moments that we have. I have had beautiful moments today. I got some of the best hugs from these AIDS Foundation Chicago folks. That guy downstairs, that security guard is the nicest security guard I have ever met. He was the sweetest guy, gave me a smile, and it was a moment. And I take them every moment that I can get. Just breathe, just stop, don't rush. I mean, I still have questions. My husband, Michael, and I were sitting out on our back patio the other day, and we had just been doing a lot of stuff in the yard and fixing up the lawn and all of that, you know. And we're just sitting there, starting to get dark. And I said, Michael, this is so great right now. And he says, yeah, he says it is, but I want to have more azaleas over there, and maybe we could put a tree over there. I'm like, stop. I said, no, it is perfect right now. And he heard me, and he says, yeah, this is pretty nice. And we sat there for a minute, and I held his hand. And we looked up, and the sky is getting darker and more mysterious. And we just sat there, and we looked at the gathering infinite stars. Moments. Thank you so much for the privilege of being here. Thank you so much.